Welcome to Lesson 3, Rejuvenate. In this lesson, you'll learn 7 actions to re-energize your body and mind so you can achieve a higher level of productivity. Let's start with a vivid picture of what happens when you don't take the time for rejuvenation. A former Goldman Sachs employee named Alexandra Michelle conducted a 12-year study on investment bankers. These investment bankers worked between, get this, 100 and 120 hours a week. Now, there are only 168 hours in the week, so obviously these bankers were going way beyond shorting their margin. They were robbing time from critical areas like sleep, relationships, and exercise. To keep them on their job, their employer offered round-the-clock administrative aid, plus meal and laundry services. But even so, you can't work 15 to 18-hour days without taking a major toll. Now, these bankers were working 100% in their desire zone. So they were incredibly productive, at least in the beginning. But here's what Michelle found. Starting in year 4, they began experiencing debilitating physical and psychological breakdowns. They suffered from chronic exhaustion, insomnia, back pain, autoimmune diseases, heart arrhythmias, addictions, and eating disorders. And it got worse. Because of their worn-out condition, the bankers exhibited diminished judgment and ethical sensitivity. And their performance plummeted. Amazingly, as their performance fell, they upped their hours to compensate. And when you consistently sacrifice self-care for productivity, you're headed for burnout or worse. All the research confirms this, yet we seem reluctant to accept the facts. When you work beyond about 50 hours a week, there's no productivity gain. In fact, your productivity starts going backward. By working to the point of exhaustion, we actually achieve less by doing more instead of the other way around. To achieve more by doing less, we have to root out one of our most closely held misconceptions about time and energy. The bankers fell prey to a common productivity myth. They believed that energy is fixed, but time can flex. They thought they'd be just as smart, just as strong, and engaged at 100 hours as they were at 50. But they had it exactly backward. Time is fixed, but energy can flex. Every day contains the same number of hours, but your energy swings up and down depending on your rest, your nutrition, and your emotional health. Now, most of us know this already. When we're fresh in the morning, we can accomplish twice as much as we can after lunch. That's energy flexing. The good news is you can make your energy flex in your favor so you get the most juice for the least squeeze. That's what rejuvenation is all about. It's about renewing your most vital resource, your energy. And to do that, you must master 7 essential practices: sleep, eat, move, connect, play, reflect, and unplug. If you rush ahead to try and productivity solutions without taking the time for self-care, you risk facing the same fate as so many overworked leaders who burn out or blow up, disappointing their organizations and their families. By mastering these practices, you'll find that you have more than enough energy to tackle even your most demanding tasks and still have the capacity for family, relationships, and personal interests. Okay, so let's start with practice number 1, sleep. While giving a eulogy for one of his top executives, former Disney CEO Michael Eisner said sleep was one of his enemies. He thought it kept him from performing flat out 100% of the time. There was always one more meeting he wanted to have. Sleep, he thought, kept him from getting things done. We all buy into that myth at times, but it's nothing to celebrate. We convince ourselves we can squeeze one more meeting or one more task into the day if we just get up a little earlier or go down later. It's pervasive. On average, Americans get just under 7 hours of sleep each night. And that number, already below the recommended 8, is probably overstated because people usually report the time they spend in bed, not the hours they actually sleep. In the business world, we boast about getting even less. But skipping sleep ultimately hurts our work. One study of surgeons who stayed awake 24 hours found doctors made more mistakes and routine tasks took them 14% longer due simply to a lack of sleep. That level of impairment was on par with being intoxicated. And it doesn't take an all-nighter for that to happen. People who get just 6 hours a night for 2 weeks straight, will function as if they were legally drunk. Rather than boosting productivity, robbing sleep actually ensures our failure. Nightly rejuvenation is the foundation of productivity. Sufficient sleep keeps us mentally sharp. It improves our ability to remember, learn, and grow. And it refreshes our emotional state, reduces stress, and recharges our bodies. Meanwhile, going without sleep makes it harder to stay focused, harder to solve problems, harder to make good decisions, or even play nice with others. Rejuvenating rest comes down to two things: quantity and quality. Adults need 7 to 10 hours of sleep a night to perform at their peak, but that's different for everybody. You need to give yourself permission to get as much sleep as you need to be at your best. Now, I know that can be difficult, especially if you have young children. I've been there. You and your partner may need to sleep in shifts or even hire an overnight babysitter occasionally to ensure that you get enough rest. You can also increase your quantity of sleep by taking a short nap during the day. Now, don't laugh. Naps are my secret productivity weapon. I take one every day after lunch, and it keeps me fresh and alert all afternoon. Just don't nap longer than 20 or 30 minutes, or you may have a hard time waking up. Now, there's a long list of leaders and artists and scientists who have improved their performance by strategic napping. To name just a few: Winston Churchill, Douglas MacArthur, John F. Kennedy, J.R.R. Tolkien, and Thomas Edison. Give it a try. There are also ways to improve the quality of your sleep. Studies unanimously show turning off all your screens an hour before bedtime can dramatically improve your sleep. You need to be intentional about your sleep environment. You might add blackout shades, lower the room temperature, or use a white noisemaker like an electric fan. Small changes can make a huge difference. Practice number 2 is eat. The food we eat makes an immediate, powerful impact on our energy. And there's a reason that athletes are so vigilant about their intake. The best productivity system in the world can help you if you're starving your body of key nutrients or bogging it down with unnecessary calories. Skipping lunch is a common symptom of the hustle fallacy. Almost 40% of workers and managers either never eat lunch or only do so occasionally. We treat lunch like an interruption, but the truth is it pays big dividends in terms of our energy level. Skipping a midday meal can leave us drowsy and fatigued. Leaving your desk for a meal also pays off. It gives you a brief time away to let ideas percolate. Skipping lunch means trading the breakthrough moments that could take your organization to the next level for the monotonous spreadsheets and emails. The conversation about what does or doesn't constitute a healthy diet could go in 100 different directions, and all of them are outside the scope of this course. However, I will share a little advice for those who've never really thought about healthy eating. First, eat natural foods as much as you can. Vegetables, fruits, nuts, and meats are much better choices than practically anything you'll find in a package. If you can't pronounce the ingredients or it's loaded with sugar, think twice. Second, don't assume you know what a healthy diet looks like if you haven't taken time to learn about it. The road to poor nutrition is paved with assumptions. Don't be misled by products falsely marketed as healthy or as low fat or other splashy blurbs. Knowing what you should eat can be tricky, so do your research and find what works best for you. Third, be careful about what you drink. So-called energy drinks, soda, and many other beverages usually leave you more depleted than before despite the short-term sugar rush. It's best to stick with water as much as possible. Fourth, consider nutritional supplements. They can make up for deficiencies in your diet. In managing my energy level, I pay special attention to vitamin B12 and vitamin D. Both of these play a huge role in helping me manage stress and in feeling energetic. Fifth, be intentional about who you eat with. Sharing meals is a great way to build relationships. Meals aren't just about refueling. They're also about joy and connection. And spending quality time at the table is key for productivity. Now let's look at practice number 3. Move. Too often we tell ourselves we don't have enough energy to exercise, but exercise is itself an energizer. It gives more than it takes. Few things have as direct an impact on our energy level as a decent workout. If you get moving early, it'll pay huge dividends all day long. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, only a few lifestyle choices have as large an impact on our health as physical activity. A regular exercise routine has been tied to weight control, lower stress, vitality, increased energy, reduced risk of heart disease and cancer, and overall improved quality and length of life. And you can get all that without spending hours a day in a gym. About 25 minutes of moderate aerobic activity a day will work for most people. Start taking a brisk walk after lunch and see how it improves your energy, concentration, and overall health. Also, exercise doesn't just strengthen your body, it strengthens your mind. Physical activity primes our brains to operate at a higher level. A single workout can boost higher order thinking skills, making you more productive and more efficient. It improves executive function, which is higher order thinking that allows you to develop strategies and synthesize information. Exercise actually makes you smarter. If you're looking for a way to boost your mental and physical energy, try hitting the gym or going for a walk. It really works. High achievers are notorious for their inability to balance work and home life. It may sound crazy, but exercise can make a huge difference here too. Believe it or not, researchers have found a clear relationship between structured, repeated physical activity and the ability to strike a balance between home and work. Here's how it works. First, exercise reduces stress, and lower stress makes both home and work time more enjoyable. Second, exercise creates a greater sense of self-confidence. It boosts our belief that we have what it takes to get things done. Simply put, exercise lowers stress and makes us feel stronger. That's not news to anyone who's just come off a great workout. You feel like you can conquer the world. A solid exercise routine boosts your energy, your alertness, and your self-confidence, all traits that the market rewards. This is what gives you an edge in every area of life. Practice number 4, connect. In case you haven't noticed, other people have a tremendous effect on your energy level. The people around us can either dramatically boost or completely drain our energy faster than just about anything else. You can get plenty of sleep, eat a healthy diet, and work out every day, but if you keep yourself locked away from other people, or worse, hang out with emotional vampires, you're missing out on one of the most powerful energizers of all. In a study of workers at a large tech company, researchers identified the high performers, then analyzed their effect on the people around them. Listen to this. Coworkers who sat within a 25-foot radius of high performers saw a 15% increase in performance. And here's the thing. Negative spillover from low performers was about double that. People can give you energy, and they can also take it away. It's worth evaluating the effect that coworkers are having on you. The same goes for your social circle. Your family members and friends, even the Facebook kind, will affect your energy. Some people come with batteries included, as my friend Dan Sullivan says. They charge you up. Others drain you. Either way, they have an effect on your energy and your productivity. You've got to be intentional about these connections. A night out with friends, a getaway with your family, or a cup of coffee with a colleague can pay back huge dividends in energy. But a political rant from an old friend on Facebook can drop you into a funk that lasts for hours. Even when you do have to be around negative people, just being aware of the effect that they have on you prevents the worst of it from rubbing off. I sometimes hear people say they don't have time for friendships. Overworked people rarely do. Connection is like sleep or exercise in that way. It's essential for high performance, but it's one of the first things we cut when we feel overwhelmed. To be fully productive, you need to prioritize people. You are a human being, not a human doing. Not everything can be measured by check marks on your to-do list. Many of the best things in life happen in the spaces between the tasks. Practice number 5 is play. You know the old saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It also makes Jack ineffective, uncreative, and unproductive. Don't discount the power of play in your life. No matter how many serious things demand your attention, if you keep pushing fun to the back burner, you're going to miss the rejuvenating energy it provides. Now, I define play as any activity you undertake for its own sake, for fun, or for connection with others, or for expressing your creativity. It can be a game like golf or a hobby like painting. It's wrestling with the kids or throwing a ball with your dog. It's hiking outdoors or fishing on a trout stream. For me lately, it's been learning to play the Native American flute. Maybe it's just goofing around. Whatever the activity, play is essential for rejuvenation. Because play has no end product, no deliverable, it just flows on its own. And that's the whole secret. When you're not working towards something, you're free to experiment, try new things, and use your imagination. The research is conclusive on this point. Active play produces creative breakthroughs. Many of the highest achievers already know this. Bill Gates plays tennis. He also plays bridge with Warren Buffett. Former Twitter exec Dick Costolo hikes, skis, and keeps bees. And Google co-founder Sergey Brin does gymnastics, bikes, and plays roller hockey. U.S. Presidents George W. Bush, Jimmy Carter, Ulysses S. Grant, and Dwight Eisenhower all painted. So did Winston Churchill. He took up the hobby during a bleak time in his career, and he kept at it the rest of his life, even through the worst days of World War II. The key to this kind of rejuvenation is deviating from our work routines. We use our bodies and minds differently at play than at work. When we play, we shut off one area of our brain so it can rest, and we light up another area that has been dormant. For rejuvenation to happen, you have to change things up. That's why being outdoors has such restorative power. Taking a break to engage with nature, even for a few minutes, can boost your mental stamina. In one study, people performing memory and attention tests upped their scores by 20% after walking through an arboretum. This doesn't have to take a long time. Even a short break spent outdoors produces a measurable effect on the mind. But long stretches of time when we're immersed in nature offer even bigger benefits. After spending 4 days in the wild, disconnected from any sort of digital technology, a group of students performed, get this, 50% better on a problem-solving test. Researchers concluded there's a huge cognitive advantage to spending extended time in nature. Practice number 6 is reflect. Reflection can take many forms, but most often it's something like reading, journaling, meditation, prayer, or worship. Most of what we talked about so far is focused on the body, things like rest and eating, moving, and so on, and all those things are good for the soul too, but we also need to be intentional about rejuvenating our minds and hearts. This first module of Free to Focus is stop, and reflection is often the last thing we stop for, if we ever do. But we desperately need this action. If we skip it, we run the risk of losing ourselves. It's easy for busy people like us to rush through life at warp speed, tackling one decision after another without ever stopping to figure out where we're going. What do all these decisions add up to? That lack of self-awareness over time creates a random, haphazard life, and that's not the kind of life you want to look back on. The influence of social media and our culture of instant gratification make it even more important that we take time to reflect. It's tempting to go through the day just skipping over the surface of life, checking status updates, making one-click purchases, binging on TV without looking deeply at ourselves. And we won't really be rejuvenated unless we also slow down and contemplate who we are and how we're moving through the world. Make reflection a daily practice. What ideas really matter to you? What are you feeling? Give yourself time to think through your day, including your decisions, your wins, your losses, discoveries, and everything else that made this day unique. When you do this, you keep yourself connected to a bigger why, and you don't get lost in the minutiae of life. This gives you the strength you need to finish the race every day. Practice number 7 is unplug. This practice binds the others together, and the reason is simple. Even if you buy into these actions, it's hard to do them consistently. We've trained ourselves to overwork. By now, working too much is probably a habit with you. And believe me, it's a hard one to break. It's very easy to stay connected to our jobs, even when we're trying to disconnect. We drift into negative patterns like working weekends and sacrificing sleep for work. And the smartphone? It's always nearby, right? It's always in the pocket, always on, and almost always buzzing with notifications. How do you get away from that? I guess one way would be to build a Faraday cage in your house. But that might be overkill. Most of us need a more practical solution to getting away from electronic interruptions. To do that, I recommend creating several rules to help you disconnect during nights, weekends, and vacations. Here are the 4 I use. Feel free to create your own and share them with anyone who will help you implement them. First, don't think about work when you're not working. Put it out of your mind. Preoccupation with work kills family time. It makes you absent even when you're physically present. And be mindful of worry creep. When you sense yourself thinking about work, focus on something else instead. Second, don't do any work. This includes keeping in touch or checking in. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Ignore your email and Slack, and shut everything down. You might even put your phone in a drawer. Close desktop apps like Slack or email and move them off your desktop. Don't even look at them during your downtime. Third, don't talk about work. Avoid spending your downtime discussing projects, sales, or work-related problems. This also gives you and your family a much-needed break from your job. Be sure to give the people around you permission to call foul when you drift back into job speak. Fourth, don't read about work. This includes work-related books, magazines, and blogs, as well as things like podcasts and training videos. Cultivate some other interests. Use your free time to develop passions that aren't work-related. Well, I hope this lesson has blown away some long-standing myths when it comes to managing time versus managing energy. Remember, time is not a renewable resource. It's fixed. You can't do anything to add a single second to the day. But energy, that's renewable, and you can make it flex in your favor. You can rejuvenate yourself and gain incredible energy when you adopt these 7 essential practices: sleep, eat, move, connect, play, reflect, and unplug. This brings us to the end of Module 1, Stop. We began by creating the space we need to formulate to get a clear picture of where we want to go and what we want our lives to be. Second, we took time to evaluate, giving us a clear picture of exactly what our current situation looks like. And third, we found out how to rejuvenate, investing in ourselves and our energy by actions that build our body, mind, and spirit. It may have seemed counterintuitive to start with stop, but I hope by now you see the huge value of taking a breath. You can't get where you're going unless you know where you are now and where you want to end up. When you've completed the exercises for this lesson, you'll be ready to move on to Module 2, Cut. That's when you'll really start to see your new productivity vision take shape. Before you move on, complete the Rejuvenation Self-Assessment Worksheet in your course workbook. You can also download it from the sidebar on the right. Now, I know it can be difficult to make time for things like rest and healthy eating and exercise, but your life will be so much better when you make these things a priority. You're also going to be more productive, more focused, and you'll gain the freedom you're looking for. On the Rejuvenation Self-Assessment, go through the 7 questions and rank yourself from 1 to 12. You'll notice the scores are divided into 4 ranges marked by color. Find the statement that describes your situation best. If that statement describes your situation exactly, choose the number in the middle. If you're doing a little better than that, choose the higher number in the range. If you're doing a little worse, choose the lower number. When you've ranked all 7 questions, total your scores together. This will give you your rejuvenation score. For example, if the total of your 7 different responses is 55, then your score is 55 out of a possible 84. This quick little tool will bring clarity into the rejuvenation areas that we discussed in this lesson. Rather than just saying, I feel worn out all the time, this tool will help you identify specific areas that may need more urgent attention. You should retake the assessment every few months as you work on these things to see how you're progressing and improving. When you've done that, complete the Rejuvenation Jumpstart Worksheet. This tool will help you select a possible goal for each of the 7 actions we covered in this lesson. When you've identified at least 1 goal for each action, pick the 2 you want to focus on for the next month. Finally, to keep your goals in front of you, identify an activation trigger for each of those 2 goals. Simply put, an activation trigger is something that reminds you about your goal. It could be a note in your bathroom mirror or a reminder on your phone, whatever works for you to remember the goals that you've made for yourself. Congratulations! You're well on your way to finding the freedom to focus on your most important priorities. I'll see you in the next lesson as we dive into Module 2, Cut.